Hey, I just wanted to address for a couple minutes some things going on this weekend. You might be aware of the controversy surrounding the Super Bowl halftime show. That's not a new concept that the Super Bowl halftime show would be controversial. I remember years ago when Janet Jackson had her wardrobe malfunction and that controversy, it resulted in the FCC issuing a $550,000 fine to CBS because of that indecency taking place. Don't let anybody tell you that the church wasn't outraged. There were churches that had Super Bowl parties and were watching the halftime show, so they were upset about it. Lots of people, secular people, were upset about that because they even realized like this is not acceptable to take place. Look, the reality is sin is a reproach to any people. It erodes, when you erode the moral fabric of a nation, you're destroying the nation. All right. And so people recognize that and stood against it. There have been other shows, though, that have been controversial as well. Some that were kind of promoting like almost a Satanism or at least alluding to that, some witchcraft, those kinds of things, sexualized always, that kind of stuff. This year, there's a guy that is performing that I had never heard of until the controversy came. And so I had to look him up and Googled him and try to find out what he was all about. And his name is Bad Bunny. You can't make this up. He's supposed to be an adult, not a cartoon character, but we're supposed to take him seriously. But his music is vulgar and profane and sexually explicit. And this is not anybody seeking Christ should listen to or want to be around. So it's definitely vulgar. In light of that, there were some people who proposed an alternative. And their alternative, the person headlining that was a guy named Kid Rock. All right, can't make that up either. And I knew a little bit. I'd heard about him before, but I did a little more research on just to verify because I don't listen to his music. But he's similar, different genre of music, but the same in terms of vulgarity, promoting sexual immorality, just profane. And no Christian should want to listen to Kid Rock either. So in light of all that, God's people should speak out about things like wickedness and sinfulness being promoted through the arts because it is harmful to our society. It is unloving to be silent in the face of evil and sin that is destructive, and be silent about that. You're compromised. You're complicit in the destruction of and harm of people. Sin has wages, sin has consequences, and it's destructive and harmful. So I wanted to speak to that, but I also want to say this to believers. The response to the push from some, even in some, quote, Christian progressive circles, of the transgender issues or pushing and promoting abortion or gay marriage, or that if you're white, you're automatically racist but just because of the color of your skin and you have white privilege or whatever, all these kinds of things, all the push for all that stuff, the response to that should never be Kid Rock. He's not the response to that. The response to the moral filth of this world is holiness. Now more than ever, God's people should seek to be holy because He is holy, to mirror the nature and the character of God in our world. That means there are some things we just don't participate in. Sorry, I'm not going to participate in sin. And I also, because I love you, because I care about those around me, I want to warn them about the long-term detrimental impact of morally eroding conscience and morals of our society. But that's got to start for me personally. I've got to live the life. You've got to live the life. Before we can sound a warning, before we can overcome evil, we must participate in good and holy things. So allow God to do that. So let me give you what would seem to be an obvious but maybe controversial response to the Super Bowl halftime. Go to church. Yeah. It's on Sunday, the Lord's Day. Go to church. Worship Jesus. Instead of bowing down at the altar of compromise or feeding on the controversy or even just like feeding on being offended, go to church. Exalt and lift up the name of Jesus. Worship Him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Sing praise to Him. Commit your life to Him afresh and anew, and glorify His name. And do it on Sunday night again. Did you know that years ago, people of all denominations and churches, they had Sunday night service and they worshiped Jesus on Sunday night too. What a profound idea! Instead of gathering around the television to watch another vulgar halftime show at Super Bowl, why don't you gather in the house of the Lord and worship and glorify Him? Well, you say, well, my church doesn't meet. Well, find a church that does. And if you can't find a church that does meet together on a Sunday night, you can join the Mackey Church of the Nazarene at 6 p.m. Central Time. We're having a Sunday night service. We're gathering to worship the Lord. I'm going to preach a message on holiness, and we're going to exalt Jesus. And guess what? I'm not going to allow my ears or my mind to be infiltrated by the filth and the garbage of this world, but I'm going to draw close to Jesus and worship Him, and I'm going to continue to call people to a God who is holy, who can redeem you out of the darkness. He can redeem you out of the filth. Go on the Lord's Day in the Spirit to the house of the Lord and worship Him with other believers, and you will not be ashamed of your decision. You think about that. I'm Pastor Jared.